Welcome to Footprints of Happiness. I'm so glad as you are here and we continue to explore these amazing stories, moments, memories that brings joy, happiness and meaning to our life. Today I'm joined by someone whose work and also the result of the work is deeply tied to beauty, precision, and as well as storytelling. He creates timeless pieces that hold memories and brings new memories and joy to many generations. We will explore how this interesting, exciting profession brings happiness, and brings happiness not only to you, but also to those who experience and enjoy the result of your creation. So, let's dive in. So, Helge, who are you?
I'm Helge Rönneberg-Melva. I am a professional jeweler and I am a diploma gemologist. And the last word is maybe not familiar to everybody, so a gemologist is someone who knows something about how to identify gemstones.
That sounds interesting. I'm looking forward for our talk today. I have been excited to have it, and I really see a lot of happy moments that we will discuss today and go through it. I think we need to start with how do you discover this profession? How you discover that you can think and you can look on stones and metals and create some magical pieces?
This is a profession that is not so many who has this profession. So how do you come about ending up being a jeweler? That's an interesting question, I think. And to me, it happened in a very special way. Okay. When I was 17 years old, I was out chopping wood.
Okay.
And our next door neighbor, who is or was a goldsmith, he came down to me when I was standing there chopping wood and he said, I have to say this in Norwegian first, Helge, vil du like å lære å kjøre bil? Which means that, Helge, would you like to learn how to drive a car? Footprints of happiness to someone 17 years old with such an offer. Well, can you get a better connection to footprints of happiness? So I said, yes, please. And to make a short story out of a long one, he taught me how to drive a car. He was very nice. And I ended up by doing small odd jobs for him in his jeweler firm. And after a while, he asked me, Helge, how would you like to try to sit here at the goldsmith bench, do some goldsmith work? And at this time I was going at what we at that time called gymnasium. I was 17 years old, as I said. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I always liked to use my hands, small details, work with details. I started working at the bench, and not long after that, he said, I would like to send you to Bergen.
Okay.
At that time, in Bergen was the biggest jeweler factory in Norway. More than 100 people were employed there, and lots of jewelers sitting there. So I was sent down there, and obviously I did something right. And I was amazed by this profession. I really liked what I was doing, so I thought, all right, let's go for it. So I applied for the goldsmith school, which there was only one at that time in Oslo. And there were 20 available places for each year in the first grade. And there were 200 applying for those 20 places.
So 10 people for one place?
Yes.
Oh.
So I applied and I was rejected.
Oh, okay.
So what do you do when something like that happens? My thought was, I need to do something about this. Action! And at this time, I had my driving license. I had even got a car from a nice mother. Bought me a car. So we went to Oslo, went to the school, and addressed the teachers there and asked them what was wrong with my application. At that time, I didn't know how many it was and all that. No, they said, we think of you as a bit overqualified because you had so many more obvious possibilities for what you could do where you were in your life. So that's why you were rejected. Well, I said, all right, fair enough. But it was an interesting conversation. I really got a nice contact with the teachers. And after a while, I can't remember how long, a week maybe or so, I got a message from them. It was one of the 20 that they had accepted who backed off.
Okay.
So suddenly there was a free place. And because I had been there, and I had presented myself in a way that they liked, I was given the place. Yeah. So that's how it all started.
That's amazing.
Fact was that when you are done with the first year, these 20 students, there are only 8 available places for the next year.
So it's getting less and less.
Less and less. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so from 20, it's only 8 going more.
Yes, 8 for the next 2 years.
Okay.
And I was lucky to pass that one as well. So this brought me into a completely new world of creativity and learning. Because at this time in the jeweler education, we really learned what it was all about. Because being a jeweler is so many different things. It means making normally rings and cufflinks or whatever, but it can also mean making things like candlesticks and bowls and things like that. It can mean making brooches for a national costume. And this first year we learned all about the different things. So we could decide for the 2 next years, the one of us who were lucky to go on, which branch we would walk into. So I decided for being a jeweler by making jewelry, not brooches, not national brooches and not candlesticks and things like that. So I'm working with gold.
But what was the reason? Because
I was fascinated by what you can do with a saw and a file.
Okay.
And when you solder things together and you make things, and it appears to you, it is a creative feeling that brings so many footprints of happiness. You know, when you work with gold, which is my favorite metal, it looks rather dull when you work with it. It looks like a piece of metal. It could be anything, could be brass, could be anything, because it's not shiny. It has not presented itself with the beauty that it holds hidden. So you work for hours and hours and hours looking at this grey thing. And when you go in, for talking about the school, we had a polishing room. So when you bring the thing you have made, worked on for maybe 40 hours or something, into the polishing room, and you sit down and you start to polish, and it sparkles towards you, and you can really see the beauty and the dimension and the reflections in light and everything just by holding it and polishing it. That is amazing. What a feeling. I can give you one example.
Yeah,
Like here is a ring. This is made of white gold.
Okay.
And during the whole process of making this ring, it looked like an ordinary nail, like what you bang in your door or in your ceiling or in your walls and everything. It was grey, it was dull, and I had to use different methods of squeezing it, turning it, and all this. And it looks really dull for such a long time until the polishing process started, and it becomes shiny and beautiful, and it comes to light as it is.
But it's so, there is so different angles that
Yes.
you need to polish it in all angles in a way.
Yes, you have all the different types of tools that makes it possible to address all the small places on this ring.
Okay, maybe we are going forward too fast, but it's so interesting. This design is amazing. How did you come up with the idea? Do you remember?
I just remember that I wanted to make a ring with one stone that would look different to others. And I wanted to make it for my wife, because before I and we went to Oslo for me to do this education, I married at the age of 21. And I wanted to make this ring with this beautiful diamond. There's two now, but at that time it was one. And I wanted it to be a ring that was totally different to any other solitaire diamond ring. And I always liked curves, lines, balances, knots, things to be symmetrical, a little squeezed, a little bit like this, a little bit like that. So I was just drawing lines, and suddenly it appeared to me, this is the way to do it. And I didn't make a complete sketch in 3 dimensions for it. It was in my head, and it was on a piece of paper, and I just started to work with it, with the tools I had available.
In a way we can say it was from your head, it was in your fingers.
Yes.
It went straight forward.
Yes, straightforward. Just through some small sketches.
Ideas that just did the...
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yes.
It's really beautiful.
And at a later time, my wife wanted to have still another diamond next to the one that was there. So that's why it's 2 now.
Yeah.
So, but as you can see, it is symmetrical in a way without being it, because there's a difference in balance between the 2 sides.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, but that fits the finger when you put it on the finger, because you have the biggest part up here and the smallest down there. So that will balance that the finger will get more and more narrow. You see?
Yeah, that's true.
See what I mean?
Yeah. Because you're even taking care of the physics of the finger,
yes.
Let's say,
yes.
Anatomy of the finger,
yes.
That it's like, it should really
it should be in balance with the whole thing, where it's supposed to be used. Because you could have made those 2 curves alike, but that would have been dull.
Okay.
Yes.
But that is education, I guess, that is giving you the understanding. It's not like, because for me, the first would be, I need a symmetry. Everywhere symmetry. But then you learn that these things are...
But I'm not sure if I've learned this somewhere. This is something that just comes natural for me.
Okay.
Yes. We did have a good teacher at the school teaching us about designs, giving us inspiration and so. But this is something that comes from within, I feel, to have, because I like it like that. Maybe others like it another way. But
that's your way of seeing.
This is my way of seeing it. So
here if we continue a bit on the idea that, in a way, that jewellery is letting to live your life and change it. So, as you said, you made it in a one way. but then you change it because you wanted some extra things, and you just add it.
Yes.
And it's alive.
Yes. and of course, those two stones, in my opinion, could not have the same size. So you may have noticed that there are a bit difference in size, which balance the other thing about the balance in the ring.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But when you do this and when you see the result and you're there, footprints of happiness. I can assure you, it gives such a beautiful feeling.
So I would say that you have amazing profession that gives happiness, these footprints of happiness for you, and not only for you, but for the others as well. Because the ones who
hopefully, I think my wife was satisfied.
Oh yes.
I think she was, and she loves to use this ring, and it looks nice. That's one of the things about this profession, you know. I made this when I was then 23 years of age, and it's still as shiny, still as beautiful, and sometimes when I get close to other professions, like at the bridal fair, we have all different sorts of firms that are there, and there's a nice bakery who has their representation there, and they make these beautiful cakes, so amazing and so tasty and so good, and after one day it's all gone. There's nothing left.
Yeah, that's true.
And I can make this, and this will go from my wife onto the next generation and onto the next generation. And it will tell a story about me, my craft, about my wife who is wearing it. And I think today we need such things, because most of the things that we are surrounded with are meant to last for 2 to 5, maybe 7 years. Then you're supposed to buy new things. That's what society tells you. You always need something new, throw away the old, right? And in my profession, it's the opposite. When it comes to things like this, you make something that lasts. And even if you should have something that went out on date, you could still use the same material and redo it.
And it still lives.
Yes. You know, I have customers that comes, for instance, they want to make wedding rings, and they say, we have inherited these rings from our grandchildren or from mothers or fathers or whatever, and we would like to use these rings for our wedding rings. And I say that, well, there are two ways of doing it. We can use this gold in the process of making new rings, but we will just put your gold in, and we will make something new with our gold, and there will be a balance on how much gold in and out. But we can also use the exact same gold and make wedding rings. And you will know when you put on these rings, this is the gold that your father or your grandfather or grandmother used in their life.
That's amazing.
Yes, I think that is a good thought, at least if you have good relations and thoughts about your forefathers.
I have as well one beautiful small ring that I got from my grandma, and it is a special one, and I'm just sometimes that you're just wearing, and the feeling. I still remember how she told me the story, how she gave me the ring, and how she said that it's for me. It's like, I have shivers even now remembering it. So this is this amazing happiness that is coming, and I know that I will give it to my daughter, and it's again, and it's like it's generations. So in a way that my introduction, it was quite close, even though I didn't checked with you.
Yes, exactly.
That it's this touch of generations,
Yes.
and making the story and putting new stories on it, and long and all this one is. Do you remember your first jewelry piece that you made?
I'm not sure about the very, very first. I think that was something that that I made at the workbench where I started the whole thing by my old boss.
Okay.
And that was very amateur.
Yeah.
But I took with me here, or I brought up here, a piece of jewelry that I made very, very early, and this shows a very typical. This is a very typical example on how the difference in thinking 2- and 3-dimensional thoughts can be represented. Because as you will see, looking from this side, it's got a nice balance. It's okay, but from the side it's very flat and it has no dimension. Okay. So when creating this, I remember drawing it and putting it up, finding the stone, and you only think in 2 dimensions. You don't think of the depth of the jewelry. And that's what you learn as you go into designing. You learn to think in 3 dimensions. How would it look when you turn it around?
Okay.
Yes. So by doing that, that is some of the most challenging moments when I work with customers who has an idea about what they would like to have made. They think in 2 dimensions. They see something like that. Okay, it should be more like that. Lines like that, I like that. But I don't think 3 dimensions. They only see lines. And when I draw something on a piece of paper, and so could it be like that or that? Yes. Still, then most of them at least don't think in 3 dimensions, which I have to do, because when they get the result of what has been prepared for them, and they open the box, and I'm so waiting for this, will this be a yes moment or will it not be a yes moment? That's the crucial point, because when they open it and they see it in 3 dimensions, was this the way they had figured it out? That is, it is so amazing, this moment, and it is definitely footprints of happiness when you have put all your skills into how to make a piece of jewelry, what should design be like, and so, and they open the box, and you hear, yes! And especially, even if you the day after they have been there, picking up this piece of jewelry, they call you and say, I'm still amazed. I'm still sitting here looking at it.
That's the song.
That's footprints of happiness.
Yeah.
Then you know you find the right spot. So being creative is something that is a wonderful feeling. It is so wonderful to have this feeling of seeing something, wanting to do something, getting impulses how to do it. And very often I would, thinking back on these 3 years at school, where I really could do whatever I like. I had all the possibilities of doing whatever I like. We had some standard things we had to do, but mostly I was doing things on my own, using creativity. And I would draw something and think like that, but I will show you something else. Something that really puts your creativity at a test.
Okay.
Because when you make something like this, a ring that's very symmetrical, it has a very special stone that needs to be in balance with the rest. All right, then you know you found a design and you know how to make it. So that's one thing. But when you don't know where you're going, when you go out on a path of searching for a design by using the flame on your pistol when you solder, this piece of jewelry I made in my second class in the jewelry school. And what I did was I had a rather thin, I think 0.4 millimeter gold plate. I cut it into a shape. I started bending it, and then I started working on it with the flame. Because you know, the flame has a much higher temperature than what the gold will be able to stay solid, so it will kind of shrink it. If it will melt, it shrink in, and then you start forming this piece of jewelry with the flame until you get the right balance or harmony or whatever, and suddenly, yes, this is how it should be. So that's how I made this piece of jewelry, and to put the perfect balance to it, in my point of view, I added some pearls, not symmetrical put on, but in the way that they will balance the totality of the impression from this piece of jewelry. It was so fun making that, not knowing where I was going and ending up like that.
This is amazing. In a way, I'm really the person who likes a symmetry, that everything is. But looking on this piece, this is really like it's something exclusive, we can say, because it's one in the world.
Well, this is one of a kind.
One of a
Definitely.
kind, and so in a way, for you. You are creating different kind of pieces. So one is where you know the design, and the customer is giving you the design. It's really precisely what he wants. And then, in a way, you are letting flow the imagination, dream big, and just taking material. Okay, let's start to do something, and you end up with this amazing piece of the art.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
You know, I feel I was so lucky to get into this jewelry school because, as I said, there we didn't think of time or anything. The thing I made that took the longest time to produce, it took 110 hours of work.
110?
Hours of work.
Oh my God, this is the month work.
Yes, because we didn't, but it was so complicated, and so with so many parts that it took that long time. So we didn't have to think of things like that, and that means that you can really develop everything, all sides of your imagination, creativity, on a school like that. You couldn't do that if you were working in a firm at the bench. Then you have to do all the work that had to be done, and in between you had to do this and that. So it was 3 fantastic years. I was lucky.
And we are talking about how lucky you were and how was your happiness before. So if we go back to the topic about the different kind of jewelry pieces, there is different level of creativity, of course, and there's different time that you are using to make the jewelry.
Yes.
It's not like you will say all rings will take so many days or all this one. It will really depends. So what is your fastest jewelry and what is your longest creativity time jewelry?
Well, the fastest way of working would be something like this, because this is in the, so to speak, heat of the moment. You use the heat and you form it, and this is done in a couple of hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Yes, because you just have to have the idea and the technique and the skill. And then it's very fast to do. You just have this piece of flat, and you bend it, and you use the flame and stuff.
I'm shocked because I really thought that there is so many hours behind.
No.
So you need to have the right moment when you are in a right state and you have right instruments, and then everything happens.
But we can go to my favorite piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
This is the one that means the most to me, because this is my so-called masterpiece. This is the one, the piece that qualified me for being a jeweler. It was my exam.
Okay.
Yes, and into a piece like this, there's a lot of skills you have to prove that you can handle. As you will see on the back side, there's a up-build part there, and so many details on a piece like this. So there's a typical.
But you're showing me the backside.
I'm showing you the backside. That's the typical when a jeweler wants to see a piece of jewelry. He looks at the front side and then he turns it. Okay, how is it made?
Okay.
And this piece of jewelry, as I show you now, I think is my favorite, because when you are up to your master test or your exam or whatever you should call it, you really want to put everything into that. So I wanted to make a piece of jewelry that I called the elements.
Okay.
And these are the parts in this piece of jewelry is the elements that we have around us. As you will see, there's the fish.
Okay. Yeah.
Down in the water. There are the human standing on his 2 feet. And then there's the bird in the sky flying.
That's true.
And then the stone is the universe.
And this is amazing.
And I used a very special stone in this piece of jewelry. This is the stone that comes from Symmetry.
Oh, local.
It comes from Ålesund. And it's a stone called peridot. You might have heard of olivine, which is the mineral, but peridot is the gemstone variety. And to me, it's the most beautiful type of stone we have in Norway. I think this green, clear color, it is so beautiful. So when I was looking for the right stone for this project, I went to stone wholesaler in Oslo.
Okay.
And I looked at what he had and asked different questions, and he came, you should look at these, he said. And I found that stone. I said, yes, that's the right stone for this piece of jewelry. So this is the piece of jewelry that means the most to me. It's the piece of jewelry that made it possible for me to say, I am a goldsmith. Yes.
It's beautiful. And it's so interesting that it's, again, you're talking, before you spoke about this 3 dimensions, and you really feel these dimensions in this one. It's going up and down, and really, really amazing and beautiful. And what I really like, that all these pieces are having a story.
Yes.
Like you're saying that, oh, you see this, and then you have this, how it came. Because I remember the day when my husband gave me the present for the 40 years, and it came with a story, and that story was related to you, because you had this ring that is having this special moment, and you find this special coincidences when the right time comes and the right people and all this. So I love it, and I have it on my finger, and it really do a lot of happiness. Reminds and brings and talks. So it's really interesting. But what more about stories? Could you tell some more story?
Well, we haven't talked so much about. I have 2 educations, which I was 3 years at the goldsmith school, but then again it was 2 years with studying Gemmology.
Yeah, that's true.
And I took it at the same time, so it was 5 years in 3. So in daytime I worked I was working to be a goldsmith, and in the evenings I worked to be a gemologist. And that was so amazing. And I was so lucky because, as I told you, our neighbor, the goldsmith, that brought me into this. When I had finished my education, he wanted me to come back to help him in his shop. So when I took an interest to stones, we had a collection of stones at the school, and I was fascinated by those stones. And then there was a wholesaler for gemstones, from whom I bought this peridot, who also was very helpful. And my boss said, let's buy the gemmological equipment that you need when you come home after your education. Okay. So all the equipment with a stereo microscope was bought, and I had it by me in Oslo during the education. And I was allowed to take with me stones from school, to study and to work with. And that was amazing. What I would see in that microscope, what I would see in these stones, is breathtaking. And the one that really makes you hit the ceiling, so to speak, is, I remember it vividly as it was yesterday. I had an opal. You know, the stone from Australia that's known for its flashing colors in different colors from the rainbow. And I had put that stone in the microscope, and I was looking there. And when you do that, your whole screen is filled with what you see. And when you zoom very, very delicately into this stone, it is a flashing light that comes towards you. I think it must be something like when people take cocaine and they say that they are brought to another dimension. And when I came into this opal, slightly zooming in, I remember I yelled out, "Solveig, come and look!" And she had to see it as well, and she was trapped into the same opal fantasy. And that's not surprising to you that for major events in her life I've given her opal jewellery. So that is amazing, how wonderful it is to work with stones. But can you imagine how privileged I was? I was at the school doing just what I wanted all the time. No limits you don't have to do this. Use your own imagination, do what you like. And then I could work in the evenings with gemstones as much as I would like. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And stones, it is so wonderful to work with. Especially opal is a favorite, peridot is a favorite, and of course diamond is a favorite. I guess those three are my favorite stones, but there are so many beautiful stones. Much, much more than people know. I think there are about 40 different green gemstones.
Green?
Oh, 40. Not only emeralds and peridot or agate and jade. There are so many, 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 many stones. And each stone has its own quality. Some stones shall bring you this flashing light. Some stones mostly are known for their color, like an emerald. You don't think of emeralds as something that's flashing or like that. It's more having the right color. But with a diamond, it's the sparkling. It's the way that light goes into a diamond, and through being cut the right way, the light turns in the diamond and flashes back to you with a rainbow flashing light. So each stone has its own quality. So that's fascinating.
When your clients are coming, do they have already in a mind what they want, or do they come that, oh, I want a color, or how they are normally coming? What is their interpretation of the jewelry?
You know, we have living here at Symmetry as we do. We have had a lot of people sailing out, being out as sailors, and going to Asia and different parts of the world, and bringing home stones.
Okay.
So very often, earlier at least, I had a lot of customers coming. I bought this stone, and what can you do with it?
Okay.
And sometimes I had to tell them, you have been fooled.
Oi.
And not seldom. And sometimes it wasn't such nice stones. But at the other hands, there were other times there were beautiful stones that we could really make pieces of jewelry for. That was very, very nice. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they bring stones. Sometimes they come and say, I want you to make a ring for my grandchild to be baptized, for instance. And then I would say, all right, do this child have a birthstone maybe? When is she born? And then we would make a piece of jewelry, especially for that baptism, with the right stone for the time. Yes. Mm. So sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know.
But have you been in situation when you had to make something that you were, oh, it looks ugly, but the customer is asking you, still, could you, that, oh, no, I want like this, and you understand that it's, oh, no go?
I can't think of any time that I've been limited like that. The only times I can think of when I've been limited is when you have a design that you are going to produce jewelry from. Like I've done quite a lot of work for different shipyards and so and so. So they wanted to have their brand on the piece of jewelry. Yes. So then you are limited. You have to make it like that. But it's up to me to put it in a piece of jewelry. Yeah. But the design is made. Mm-hmm. So, but that is a challenge. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's interesting as well. But I can't use my whole creativity on that. Mm-hmm. No.
When we look back, where was your most beautiful creativity time? Was it at the school when you had possibility to create, or was it later when you became the real experienced jeweler? Or
Definitely at the school. Mm-hmm. Definitely at the school. That was the most wonderful time. But as long as you go on, you experience things and you adjust to the real life, because the school is not the real life. School is a fantasy thing where you can really learn the skill. Mm-hmm. When I came into to the school, I came from this factory in Bergen. Mm-hmm. And there I had learned, by only the short time I was there, speed. Because I was put next to other jewelers, and you do this, you do that. Mm-hmm. So when I came to the school, and they had a preparation for the year what we should do, and by Christmas I was done. Mm-hmm. Because I worked twice as fast as everybody else.
Because you knew it already from experience, yes, how to work and all these small things.
Yes, and I had disciplined myself to work fast. Okay. Yeah, as well. So no, there's it's a lot of things that I had that up through the years I worked with that's been very interesting when it comes to, for instance, in 1998, I was asked by the Ålesund commune to be the official jeweler to make the jewelry for the 150 years anniversary for the town. That was, I think that was the toughest job I have ever done.
Why?
Because they gave me 3 months. And in those 3 months, I should make jewellery for men and women, like, for instance, the cufflinks, as you see here. They had a logo for the anniversary, this knot.
Okay.
I was supposed to use that for all I could, and I could make a lot of pewter items, like a bowl and a ladle and egg cups and different things in pewter. And I made a silver spoon, a sugar spoon, with a very special design. And all these things should be ready in 3 months. You have to make the forms, you have to have the ideas, you have to even make the boxes to put it in should be ready. I think I worked all day, night and day for 3 months.
And you managed?
And I was ready when I was supposed to be ready.
So how many pieces did you make?
Oh, many. I can't. I'm not sure because there are thousands. Because cufflinks and small pendants and things like that. And I think a nice thing to think about for me is that these things most probably exist among people still. But the other things, I only remember seeing one of our politicians, an old, nice man, was in the paper recently, and he had a T-shirt with the same logo on from 1998. But I do think there are not many of those left. So it's about the same as with the cake. It vanishes after a while, but gold and silver, it stays. So that's the nice thing. But that was the biggest challenge throughout my whole career.
But can you imagine how many happy people you made? With 1,000 pieces.
Yes, it was a challenge, yes. So,
if you need to choose from whatever kind of jewelry, rings, brooch, and all these, what is your favorite?
My favorite of what I've made is definitely this one.
Brooch.
Yeah, this one here. Yeah, I think because it shows a design. It has a thought behind it. It shows your skill, and it changed my life from being not an official jeweler to be a jeweler. So it means everything to me.
If we go back to the studies and all this, is there some extreme peak of happiness that you had that was like, oh my God, that was a surprise, and oh, I feel so proud? And
yes, there's one outstanding moment.
Okay.
Because this exam that I was going for, first in the Gemmology we have a preliminary exam. And then you have learned the basic things. And if you are able to go through that, half of the students will, and half of them will not be able to pass that exam. Because this is an exam, an old-fashioned English international exam. At that time there were 2,000 students going up the same moment all over the world. And from Norway it was translated, and everything went to England to evaluate it. And when you pass that preliminary, you go into the diploma year.
Okay.
Then you really go in deep. And this was so old-fashioned and so English as you can possibly think, because you are not at the exam allowed to use any books or tables or whatever to look at. If they said 2.4 whatever, what is that? If they said about a jewel, tell all the basic things about quartz. You have to have the density and the refractive index and everything out. So you had to learn it in your mind by heart. And I've really been working hard on that. Really, really hard. I wanted so much to pass that exam, and I had an advantage to many of the ones I was with on this diploma, because they were at the same time working in their own shop at home. So what time did they have? I had every night available to study. So, and I had my wife helping me. When we were driving around in Oslo, she took up a book and she had, tell me everything you know about sapphire. And I would have to, all right, out it came. So we went, I went for this exam, and when the day came, and I remember this as vividly as yesterday.
Okay.
I went down to the mailbox, and there was the letter from, or the round, whatever you call it,
roll,
roll from England. I went into my room. We sat down, Solveig and I. I prepared with a nice glass of drambuie.
Okay.
To either swallow my bad luck or to celebrate. And I took out this piece of paper from the roll, and I unfolded it, and I started looking. Gemmological Association of Great Britain. This is the certified at Helge and so and so and so and so, examined so and so. And then there was something in my eye, because, you know, we jewelers, we are very keen on small details.
Okay.
Yes, very small details. Yeah. Because down here was something in writing that had a little bit different in the size of the fonts. You see? You see, it's not as...
It's not so bold.
No.
Yeah, it's a bit with a different thickness of the font, that's
yes.
sure. So it's added after...
It's added after, because they hadn't prepared, didn't have a prepared thing like this for this occasion. Because it said, granted as a diploma of the association with distinction. My God. Is it possible? Fact was that we were 5 in the whole world of those 2,000 who had that with distinction. I can assure you, it was not only one glass of drambuie that night. It was at least 2, maybe 3. Whew! What a celebration. After 2 years of intense work, to be able to really get this, yeah.
This is amazing. So how many were you from Norway who passed this exam?
When we started, I think we were around 20 or so. And normally, when you see how many starts and how many gets out, it's about 90% off. 10% will succeed. So it's really, really tough. But I made it more tough than necessary, because you had to know all this. Yes. What do I need to go around knowing that corundum has a density of 3.99? I still remember it. I have a table over here. I can put it up in my book, and it tells me everything. I can go to my computer, and if I ask for the density of a sapphire or a corundum, it will tell me. But they wanted this to be so difficult, because I didn't want to have more gemmologists, as this is a fellow of the Gemmological Association of Great Britain.
That's amazing.
It's a very special story. This is peaking footprints of happiness.
High peak.
Yeah, high peak.
I think on this high peak story we could go a bit more about happiness, what it means for you. If you would need to define or say from your heart what it means, what is happiness for you personally?
That's a big question. It's about how you are kind of permitted to live your life, what you can what opportunities you have, and how you can really feel the things that you find right and beautiful. And happiness, when I feel happy, I'm, for instance, in nature, and really feel so small in this beautiful, beautiful world, and feel that everything is so, it's meant to be like this. It's something that's really, nothing is a coincidence. And to feel that makes me happy. To listen to music. If you would strand me on an island for a year and I had to bring one composer, it could only be Bach.
Okay.
That's what music is to me. That makes me happy. But what I feel also is very important is if I can make a difference to somebody by doing something, that makes me really happy. I can give you an example. You know, I work with dogs.
Yeah.
I met on one of my trips out on Molnes just a month ago, a couple. They came with their small dog, and I came with my big German Shepherd, and he is so obedient, as he should be. So I tell him to go out, stay down, and the lady takes the small dog and kind of goes by, not certain if this is going to be right. But the man approaches me, and he is interested. How do you do that? How are you able to handle your dog in such a balanced way? And I sensed his really eager to know. He really wanted to know what are you doing? How is it possible? So out there at Molnes, I gave him a 15 minutes lecture, which he didn't want to go out of, or whatever. His lady was standing there, are you not coming now? So I gave him all the basics of how I train dogs. And then a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks later, I was at the same place, a little bit out on a sandy beach, playing with Max. And I see a guy coming with a small dog on the path at a short distance. And I was just attending Max, and we were playing, and suddenly he just breaks off and comes towards me. I have to talk to you. And then I remember, this was the guy I gave the lecture. And he said, I just have to thank you. I have a new dog. His troubles that the dogs had given him, and his way of not knowing how to handle him, had made this dog into a problem, which now mostly had been solved. And because he saw the way I had recommended him to work with this dog, and the tricks, or not tricks, or the things he should work on, how to fix this problem, they had worked for him. Of course, nothing was completely perfect after 14 days, but he saw this was the way to do it. And it means that I made a difference to that dog, because that dog will have a much more happy life, and to that family, because they will have a much nicer dog.
Yeah, that's true. And the neighbors, or the ones who are passing that dog, that will not have troubles.
Exactly. So making a difference with what I do to people really make me happy. Yeah.
Okay, if we go back, as we like to go back to these childhood times as well, what is your first memory of happiness?
I was 10 or 11 years old, and this too, I can see it vividly. So that's why this this memory comes so easily up when you ask me. We lived down at a big house, summer house, for us, summer house. And remember, this is when I was 10 years ago. It is quite a few years ago. Yeah, we didn't go by airplane. We went by boat to Ålesund, and we went by train to Oslo. And this was in 2 days travel. We stayed overnight at Ålesund in a hotel, waiting for the train next morning. And Oslo, that was something so big, so out of this world as you can imagine. And I remember I was in this big sitting room, and my parents came in and said, I had something to tell me. We are going this summer, we are going to Oslo. And I'm not sure what the English word for it. We call it stupekråke. That means that you run and then you turn over like this. And I did this many times on the floor of sheer happiness. Imagine I was going to Oslo.
Okay.
It was so big. It was out of this world.
And was it so big?
Yes. Oh, yes. Going to Oslo. Imagine. Makes me feel a bit old. Maybe I am.
Do you feel that the happiness somehow progress when you are the child? It's one kind of happiness, and then you're getting older, then it's a different kind of happiness.
Oh, yes, yes. Although the turning on the table was deep enough, and the happiness you get when you see that things are nice and good for people, that means a lot to you, is so much deeper. Of course, it's so much deeper. So, but it's still the same feeling. I mean, a tone on the piano is the same all the time, but it matters how you play it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's really good, by the way, the comparison. That you progress and you make it deeper. And
yeah.
It's a bit similar, like you are saying in these dimensions, that you start with 2 dimensions and then it starts to show up the third one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you were to live in just a 2-dimensional world, all you could see in that way and that way. That's all you could see. You had no idea that there was something up there, right? And just imagine what happens in your life when you go a dimension up and you have 3 dimensions. Wow! And even if you go even 1 dimension up and you illuminate, and you take away time.
Yeah.
Time vanishes.
Oi.
Oi. This might be another talk.
Yeah. It's somehow really nice to summarize up that, there will be some more talks, because I really feel that your passion for dogs and for nature, this is something I could talk as well, but I will keep this topic for next one, because you can put some big footprints of happiness for me through the showing the nature and how we can enjoy it, and as well through the dogs and all this. So that's one we will leave. But if we are sticking with jewellery and goldsmith and all this one, so if we would like to sum up, what advice would you give to young people who might want to follow in your footsteps and become the jeweler, goldsmith, and work with gemology?
The story that I've told now is not one that's easy to achieve today, because things are so different. When you see, for instance, what customers are looking for today, very often, it's getting the right brand. Yes, that's very important. When I started, we didn't have any brands. No. So that makes being or running a jeweler shop very different. So it all depends on what side of the jeweler work that appeals to you. If it is being a business person running a goldsmith shop, that is something. If it's sitting on a workbench only working, creating jewelry, that is something quite different. But there are very few who are able to do that today, and at least it's very hard to live by that. And you should really have a very special skill. Because many, as I said, when I went to Bergen, to this factory, I think there were 90 goldsmiths at that factory and 20 in administration. And that factory doesn't exist anymore. All the jewelry, or the basic jewelry that you see in the shops today, are produced far away from here in China or India or whatever. So there is no market for a big heap of jewelers today. So if you're fascinating by making jewelry, make a very close survey of what it is exactly you want, and think about what will be the consequences of such a choice from listening to people with experience, so you don't jump into something that will be quite different. I used to say, now thinking about my grandchildren, 3 things makes it a success when it comes to education. First is knowing or thinking you know what you want. Secondly is getting into that education, like me, going all the way to Oslo, saying, I am here, look at me, do you want me? Whatever, getting into that education. And thirdly, and most importantly, then you get out and start to work, that it is as you anticipated and hoped. If those 3 factors add up, then you're lucky. But the last one is the toughest to really, was it the way, was this what I wanted? And when you feel, yes, I wanted to be a doctor or a plumber or whatever, I really enjoy this, then you should be really happy. But it's a tricky, first to know, then to get there, and then was it like that?
You know, it's like it's bringing up the main idea of this podcast and these videos, that to find these people, to show to the world that there are people for each of the profession. You can find the right person who will be this plumber, doctor, like you, jeweler. It's like enjoys and feels happy and make a lot of happy footprints through the life of this one. So if we think about the work a bit, what's, in your opinion, is a key to find happiness at the work?
At work?
Yeah.
At least you can measure the success when you have started to work and you go to your daily work, and when the time is getting close to 2 o'clock, you look at your watch and you hope, oh, I hoped it was only 12. Instead of saying, oh, soon it's 4 o'clock, I can go home. That's the big difference. Yes, that's when you enjoy your work. Yes. So get yourself into to some kind of work that's right for you, that makes you feel, I enjoy being here. Of course, there's always things that is not so nice, the things that you have to do all the time, over and over again, and all that stuff. But basically, if you feel that, oh, I wish I had a little bit more time today, instead of saying, oh, at last it's weekend, I can go home.
Yeah, that's a difference.
And,
there is a big difference.
And as I work today, I'm thoroughly enjoying everything I do. and I can sit down with customers and have all the time in the world. And when they ask me, when will the things that you have to do for me now, when will it be ready? Then I say, I will call you. I don't want any pressure on things. Of course, at times there are baptism or whatever I have to adjust to as well as I can. But when it comes to ordinary things, I will call you when it's done.
Yeah, that's the happiness as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So
having in this position.
No stress. But that is not what people going into the profession will think of first, how they are going to end it. First they will have to live through the active years.
Yeah. Okay, then the final question. Let's have it. And if you could give one piece of advice about finding happiness in life, what would it be? So no, we're not taking...
I think it's the way you meet what happens in your life. It's about your attitude. It's about your being optimist or pessimist. Or I have a saying that I've used for years. If you have a glass of water and it's halfway filled, and you look at it, some people will say it's half full. Some will say it's half empty. In my world, it's always half full. If you meet what happens in your life with the attitude of, yes, let's go for it. Yes, let's put something positive into it. Don't be afraid. It's going to work out right. We can do it. It's got to do with your attitude. And always have some time for a small reflection. Don't stress your shoulders up under your ears. I remember the time that was most stressful in my professional life. I was so happy that we had our local paper, Sunnmørsposten. Because when I got up in the morning and you were all set to go and all that, I had to walk down to my mailbox and pick up the local paper. And we're walking out that door and going down there in the morning when there was no light, was maybe just the star or so. I kind of connected to the whole thing. I got a feeling of dimensions, of a good feeling, and I stopped up and I felt good. Gave me a good start for the day, not only stressing out in the car, whoa, like that, but just stop, take a step back, feel that you're living. I know that's my experience.
That's really good. And I think it's a really good moment to finish the episode by acknowledging what kind of life you have and what kind of day you have in front of you and what kind of activities in all this.
Yeah.
So I really would like to thank you for today.
Thank you for most interesting conversation. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions.
No, you were, for sure you were. And I really like to experience the true emotions when you see that when the person is talking about it and it shows that, in that moment he was truly happy and you see it that it's not artificial. So no. I'm really thankful for you to experience this, and I really hope that as well the ones who are listening us and or watching us will experience and see it as well. And I really hope like this again we're doing a bit of
difference, and maybe we are making some more people happy.
Yes.
And letting them to enjoy the happiness that we had it right now.
Yeah, and maybe they will think of their feelings of footprints of happiness. Maybe some of the things I've told can make them think of things they have experienced. And by that being a part of the whole thing of finding these small footprints of happiness that is so vital that we have. So vital. So.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
And thank you for others, and see you next time. Like we are saying in Norway, ha det!
Ha det!